100-barrel brew house
That's
capable.
good.
Yeah, so which they need.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
they got
Well,
they have
and we all talk about Pliny the Elder all day long, but they do so many other great beers
oh yeah,
too that could use more distribution and more availability. So
yeah. I'm hoping that's what they do, that they are able to produce some other beers besides just
yeah,
you know a bazillion cases of Pliny the Elder.
yeah. They take 50-barrel capacity and just dedicate that to Pliny, and then everything else can come out of the other part.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
that would be all right.
All
Be
right,
all
well, you
right
know
by
what?
me.
I don't have the beer and I don't have a glass, so I think I'll go get that. Maybe by the time that happens, Jeremy will be here.
Okay, and if not, we'll just make do.
Yeah.
So I've started the broadcast because this is an old pre-show style one where you got to see behind the scenes. But normally there's someone else here for me to talk to. So if there is anybody listening or watching at home, downloading this, because we get most of our views from downloads. Um, Hi, I'm just going to keep this from being dead air. Rob is still vacationing. Jeremy is missing, but on his way. Gary's just getting back now.
All right, no Jeremy. So we start without him.
Yeah, let's kick this off. For the record, I have no idea if we're on Alpha Geek or not. Alpha Geek has switched over to an automated process where they're supposed to detect when our channel goes live, anything goes live on our channel, and just start broadcasting.
What's the how did I tried to find the URL to go look at Alpha Geek and I couldn't find it.
Um, Pretty sure it's Alpha Geek, isn't it? Just
I know,
Alpha
but I
Geek.
couldn't find our channel. I could find Alpha Geek Radio, but I can't
Oh,
find.
then you just click on channel 3 and whatever's we're usually on channel 3, but with this new system, I don't know where we're gonna end up because it's gonna somehow do it dynamically. I think I don't know.
So in theory, we should be on there right now.
Yeah, maybe if you want to check
All
because I
right,
started
yeah.
the broadcast, so this is the old school
Oh,
pre-show. So
old
we're
school treats.
so you and I are talking behind the scenes now, which everybody loves.
Ah, and I'm here bashing Alpha Geek, talking behind the scenes. That's nice of me.
No, there's no bashing going on. We just don't know. Todd hasn't filled us in on the new. I happen to know a little bit about it just from the other shows I listen to, but there's an automation process happening that's supposed to automatically detect and pick up and run. And I don't know
Okay, so
if it's working on ours.
when I go to Alpha Geek, I don't see a channel 3 on the homepage.
We'd be on video. Is there a video audio version? No.
No, there's a how to listen live link.
Okay.
Let me try that. Oh, and it just says you can listen on
Yeah.
all these different things that I don't want to deal with.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, they may have
so
done away with channels and they may just start broadcasting live. Whoever's approved
there.
to
Oh,
do it.
here's a player. There's a player 3, but it's not us. It says Coverville Radio. Um,
Yeah, that's the old. I think channel 4.
huh. Oh, what kind of show are we classified under?
Uh,
Interview shows, music shows, news and technology, pop culture, talk
probably
comedy, entertainment.
probably pop culture, but I don't know. I don't remember ever choosing that.
We are not listed under pop culture. Let's try news and technology.
They probably just gave us the boot and didn't tell us.
Uh, we are not under news and technology.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we're under news.
Talk comedy entertainment. Mm, we're not there. Uh, TV discussion, maybe. No, we're running out of the category. Video games. Video games. We have a lot of shows on Alpha Geek.
Yeah.
Straight interview shows.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, we're down to music shows.
Yeah, we're definitely not one of those.
No. Unless I just missed this. Pop culture has a lot. We have some, looks like some interesting shows, but none of which are ours.
All right, well, time for another email to Todd then. Say, hey, are we still on your show?
Yeah.
Who knows?
They used to have a thing that said like what was on live.
Yeah,
but
well, yeah, back when they had, but like I said, they just changed everything over to like an auto detect system, and it's just supposed to pick up and run. And I don't know how it can do that unless we're pre-designated channels to go on. And even so, if we happen,
we're there. No, never mind. I see us. We showed up.
Found us. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Oh, good. We're on air. We're just not listed in their shows inventory, which I honestly can't blame Todd for not doing that. I mean, really.
So we're on air right now. We're showing. We're live.
We're on air. It says we're on air. I'm not listening. I didn't hit the play button, but
hey, Alpha Geek, listeners, hey, let us know if we're on the air or not. Someone tweeted us at pnrshow.com or just at pnrshow on Twitter. Let us know you're listening if you are, because I don't know who's listening. I don't know how this works. Are we showing up on channel 3 still, or what's going on?
It is. It's showing up on channel 3. I just closed it.
You want me to open it? Nah, don't worry about it. Let's just start the show. That way, if we have any listeners, they might have something to listen to.
They might. Yeah, because now my beer is getting warm, so we have to.
Yeah, we got to get rolling on this stuff.
I'd rather have lager than live. I'll take a strong stout over strive. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager.
Hello, Alpha Geek Radio. Hello, Internet. Hello, Gary. It's us.
Hello, Keith.
It's the PNR show. And this is season 4, episode 16, entitled so far just Bengali. And we're down 2 members right now. Rob is still vacationing. Jeremy is just missing, although he claims to be on the way. So hopefully he'll be joining us shortly.
Yeah, he takes transit in the commute, so maybe there was some things going on there. So
might be something going on. But this week we're doing one of the more requested brews from my West Coast friends that I shipped out to them, and that's SixPoint Brewery, which I believe is in Brooklyn, New York. And this is their Bengali IPA we're going to be looking at tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I like their beers. I've had them. We went to New York. 4 years ago.
Their double IPA is really good, although impossible to find even here where I'm.
Which one is that?
Only 6 hours away. What's their double called? That's a good question. I don't know as I know.
I'm gonna look them up right now.
Yeah, look them up. See if you can tell.
Sounds like you opened your resin. Is that their
resin? Yeah, that's their double.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one of those beers that as soon as I see it, I grab it. But it doesn't last long enough for me to ship it. Sorry.
I had resin. I rated it 4 on Untapped.
Yeah, it's really pretty good.
I have not had the Bengali turn, so this will be a new one for me.
Good.
I've had a couple of their beers. What have I had of theirs? Maybe I've only had resin. I think I've just had resin.
Resin's the sought-after one in distribution.
Yeah. I think I brought some back and gave some to Jeremy.
Oh, good.
Ask him.
Good. Yeah, the Bengalis, they're kind of their go-to IPA. They've got the Crisp, which we'll be having next week when Rob's back, which is their lager. And I think they've got a few other seasonals that show up.
It's like a nice IPA. It's got the right amount of amberness and clarity. Oh, wow. That smells good. That's a...
Oh, here comes Jeremy.
Hey.
The stash is here.
I made it.
I gotta get you entrance music. Let's see. There you go.
Sounds like you're disappointed that I showed up.
No, we're happy you're here.
We just opened and poured the beer, so you are right on time.
If you have it, do the same, and you'll be right here for the beginning.
I do have it.
All right. I was just telling them that this is their their go-to IPA. Resin is their double, which is really hard to find distributed up here. It shows up very occasionally. But Gary was saying he might have given you some from his last trip to New York. Did you remember having the resin?
I have had the resin.
Okay, so that must be from there. I've had the resin too, but it doesn't stick around long enough for me to ship.
Yeah, I was in New York City, so it was probably easier to find than it is up in where you live. So. All right, we got to drink this. It smells really good.
Yeah. Jeremy will have to catch up. Let's do this, Gary.
All right, Prost.
Very much leans to the piney side of the IPA.
Yeah.
Not as much citrus.
It's not a sticky, dank IPA.
Right.
Not in that.
Very much fresh and bitingly bitter, sort of Oregon coast sort of pine tree.
Yeah.
IPA. But damn good.
I get a lot of fruit in the nose, more than on the palate.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
That is a fine IPA.
The nose is it seems to indicate a lot more depth. Not that it's lacking depth, but it seems to indicate more than what's there. I think the pine notes just hit so hard that it does cover up some other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it'll reveal itself as it kind of sip on it here.
Yeah. It's good though. I mean, it's I mean, there's a whole East Coast, West Coast IPA thing going on in the beer world, but I don't know. This to me is like a really good blend of both of those. It's got a lot of hop, but it's also got a nice kind of classic bitterness as opposed to being over hopped bitterness.
Right, and it gets from the West Coast. It really gets that rich malty middle that you guys like. That really I think balances it out.
Yeah,
it's got that body. I really don't like big hoppy IPAs that don't have some body to go with them.
That's good. That is really good. Did they say what they? I'm looking at the can.
They actually use they use some new strains. SixPoint is kind of known for that. What did they say? Hang on, I have that.
It's dry hops, but they don't say what the hops are on the can.
No, I've got a description here because I pulled it up. It says, enhanced 6-point IPA formulation first released in summer of 2014. Uses a blend of new hop strains for a juicy, citrusy, piney hop slashing 69 IBU. So that's the description on Beer Advocate.
Okay.
I'm going to jump to their website and just see what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. They don't. Anyway, Bengali is a go-to IPA. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good, solid, easy drinking.
Tropical. Oh, here they go. Key ingredients are flaked oats, Madrina Bavaria. Madrina Bavaria is a single thing, and Amarillo hops. So only 2 hops that they're mentioning.
I think that first one is a custom one that they commissioned or came up with or something. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I think I probably mispronounced that. Mandarina, I think, is probably closer. At least that's the way it's spelled. So, anyway, a good beer. Well, look forward to the ratings.
Yeah, it's a solid, but only 6.6, which is nice. So it's definitely drinkable. I'm looking at their other beers. One I haven't had their blonde ever, which is called Sweet Action. I haven't seen that yet. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
So
the SixPoint has 4 what they consider year-round brews: blonde, IPA, pills, and double IPA. So Sweet Action, Bengali, the crisp, and resin. So we're going to do the crisp next week, as he said.
Yep.
And then they have some limited release beers that sound interesting.
Yeah, and I've never seen any limited release make it up to Rochester.
Yeah. Low res, a Goza that's called Jammer. A cloudy double IPA and a coffee blonde. I haven't had any of those. I think I've only had a couple of theirs. So
I think I had the coffee blonde. It was weird.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
In a good way, but it was weird.
Yeah. Oh, I think I've seen the Tesla lager too. I think I have seen that. I don't think I've tried it though.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Because the crisp is generally readily available, and that's just such a great Pilsner. So I don't think I've gone for that other one.
You know, what was interesting, because these guys are in Brooklyn, right? And there's also Brooklyn Brewing.
Brooklyn Brewing.
I saw Brooklyn Brewing in France. Like, we can't get it on the West Coast, but they have it in France.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah. So, anyway, France is probably closer than California, but still.
That's debatable, but yeah. Probably not a lot farther.
Yeah. And there's like ocean and all that kind of stuff, and import, export, all that kind of crap. Anyway. Moving on, Keith.
Moving on. No ratings yet. You have to wait for the end, kids. So, while I fill frantically, let me find some music. I miss Benny Hill. How come Benny Hill isn't streaming anywhere?
I know, that's like there are some shows that from my youth that I can never find anywhere online.
Yeah.
And Benny Hill's one. I haven't thought about that in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that should be around somewhere because that's just some classic comedy.
It's not on the BBC streaming app or anything.
No,
it might be.
It might be in the one that we can't get. You know, there's that one.
Oh, right.
It's not available in America officially. I haven't pretended I'm British for a while, and since the Olympics, to get that app. So, I suppose I could fire everything up to change my nation again and see, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Benny Hill is missed, though. We need some of that kind of culture back. Take the edge off of Trump.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, what have we got for topics, boys? I remember just kind of looking over quickly in our secret Slack channel.
We
have some fascinating topics.
We do. We have some amazing topics, and this week we're all about beer.
Yeah, we like beer. I've heard of that stuff.
So the first one is this website that I hadn't seen before called Vine Pair, which, judging by the name, is probably more to do with wine than beer. But they had an article where they asked 13 brewers, and like craft brewers, not like, Anheuser-Busch brewers. Right. What's the next big style? Because right now IPAs kind of dominate the market. You know, if you don't brew an IPA, you're not really a craft brewer at this point.
Right.
Oh, that was weird. The ad started playing that's on this website as I was scrolling, and it started talking about frequent gas and diarrhea.
Lovely.
I was trying to figure out what music, what soundbite Keith was playing there, but I realized it was a browser. It was a stupid autoplay ad.
Can I just take this moment to recommend a little mini pick mid-show? You ready for this, folks?
Sure.
AdGuard ad blocker for Chrome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to install that.
Worth getting, free and worth every penny.
Yeah, especially right now. So anyway, I read through this, and it's interesting because obviously, people are trying to figure out what to brew next, and brewers are, want to come up with the next big thing and move beyond IPAs. But there were a couple of trends, and so a lot of these breweries I actually hadn't heard of. That was one of the things I noticed.
Yeah, that's always interesting, is to find all where they found what they're calling craft breweries. A lot of the stuff isn't nationally distributed, so it's like a who's who.
Definitely.
The article's written from.
So definitely some breweries that kind of want to take a look at. Pikes Peak, I heard of. There's a couple of them that I've heard of, but what was mentioned a lot were lagers of different types. Like dry hop lagers, especially, was one that stood out to me. And the other trend that they mentioned was sessionable beers. That came up a few times, or low alcohol beers.
I definitely see that on the shelves, resurrecting. There's a lot of session or low alcohol beers being pushed in the craft beer world more and more all the time.
And I think is a good thing. That was, I like IPAs. It's probably my favorite style, but it's hard to have if you're out with friends or hanging out. You can't have like 3 drinks because they're typically a little bit higher alcohol.
Yeah.
And after a couple of those, you're slurring your words and not able to have conversations. And then if you're up to 4 or 5, you're probably not going to be doing too well. So if you can get some lower alcohol beers, then that have good flavor and good body, that to me is incredibly appealing. I mean, I have friends that they will drink the Coors Banquet because they won't get drunk off of it, but they can drink it all night.
Yeah, you
right?
can do the same thing with water, though.
Yeah, you can, but at least this is beer, and you get a little bit of a buzz off of it. So if you can get some good craft brewers that are producing some lagers and doing something interesting with lager or pilsner.
Well, that is the interesting thing, because session is definitely coming more and more, but they all seem to be IPA based.
Yeah,
I'd love to see like a good session brown ale, or
several of these. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Right. Several of these brewers mentioned brown and bitters as ales that they are interested in making as a sessionable style, and that would be nice to see.
I agree with that. I would like to see that, because there's a million session ales out there now, but very very few of them are anything but a session IPA. And for me, I don't want a session IPA, because usually what they take out is the malt, and that's what I need, that to oppose my hops on a nice, good, well balanced IPA. So I don't really want them to do that. I'd rather them to take something else and try to make it sessionable.
Yeah, I think that if this is a trend, and like I said, I don't know, if you look through the article, you can see a couple of other things. But if lower alcohol beers is kind of what they're going for, and they think is a trend, England has been doing that for a really long time. Yeah. And all of if you go to the pubs and bars in England, and all of the beers, not all of them, but the majority of the beers are, like a 6% beer is not common. Common is a 5 or 4.5.
Yeah.
And those, you can drink those much longer than you can the IPAs, especially when you get into double IPAs.
And it's definitely more of a cultural thing there to go to lunch and have a pint of bitter there, and that's it's like a 4% beer.
Because you can, right? Here you can't, right?
Yeah. You go here and get a pint of IPA, and and it's twice the alcohol, so it's not generally accepted. It's quite so well.
Yeah, and those beers have a lot of flavor, and they're really good. So I agree with that trend. Out of all the things that they mentioned in this article, as much as I love a big IPA or an imperial stout, for casual drinking and hanging out with friends, you want to be able to drink for a long time without having to get completely wasted off of your high alcohol IPAs.
And that's something that really is missing in most bars, is a beer you can just drink all night long.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for a while their craft brew was all about quality over quantity. But there is definitely something to be said to be able to drink something, throughout a party or throughout, an afternoon without just becoming completely smashed. So
There's
I guess
no reason.
there's definitely a place for sessionable, but yeah, if you can move it beyond the IPAs, I'd be thrilled.
And there's no reason a sessionable beer has to be boring or flavorless.
Well,
Making a good beer, making a good craft beer is about making a beer that's good to drink. It's something you can enjoy. It doesn't have to be flavorless just because it's a lower alcohol beer.
Well, and a lot of styles are naturally sessionable. Like lagers normally are not hugely alcoholic.
Right.
Pilsners being a kind of lager is the same thing. I mean, those by themselves tend to be sessionable. So you don't have to do a whole lot.
And those are beers that, for my palate, is difficult to find one that has a lot of flavor and is enjoyable to drink. And maybe that's just my taste. Maybe it's because it's more difficult to make that style. Because it's a lighter style. You're going to detect any kind of mistakes in the brewing. Maybe that's a trickier style to make and to make it good.
I had one. Sorry, I had a recently. It's called a indie lager. It's by a brewery called 4Pour, like the number 4, or it's 4 Pure. Sorry, and it's a Helles lager, and it's only 4.4%.
Yeah.
And I rated it a 4 on Untappd, 4 out of 5 on that, and it was really good. I mean, that was to me the kind of beer, like Jeremy said, a beer that you can just drink all night at a bar or wherever you are and be able to deal with it. And it was a lager, like I'm like Jeremy, like there's not very many lagers out there that are good, but I've had a few that were the kind of beer that I would drink on a regular basis and would buy at the store and not just drink because, I wanted to get another beer on Untappd. But brewers have focused so much on IPAs that they haven't really honed the craft of making other styles. And I think that if they did focus on those, they would come up with something that was really good. Because it is possible to do. It's just not common right now.
A couple of these guys mentioned, but I'm surprised it wasn't more, because this is what I would have picked if someone asked me. Is the sours and or the gozas. I would have thought that would be, if I had to predict, the next big thing. Because sessionable as a style isn't really a style so much. Because it could apply, the term session could apply to any style.
Yeah.
So looking purely at styles of beer or flavors, if you will, the sours or the pretty approachable gozas would be where I would have guessed. But a lot of these guys are not saying that. I'm kind of surprised. It came up twice in the article, but that was it.
I think the goza style could kind of fit both. As a style and lower alcohol.
It does fit into lower alcohol by itself, yeah.
Yeah, it's you definitely got to have an open mind and get used to that, because some of those gozas can be pretty bitey and sour, right? They're not brewed as a sour beer, but they kind of have that flavor.
Yeah.
And if you're used to the big IPAs, then that can be a real challenge for some people to overcome. I know I have friends that they just can't even drink the style because they don't like that kind of taste in their beer. They're just so accustomed to the IPAs. So, but I do think there's a pretty large segment of the market that is out there, and I have seen more gozas on the shelves, like especially in the spring and summer. Seems to be a lot more of those, and there are certain breweries that tend to brew those around here, like Boonville Brewing. They brew, or is it Anderson Valley Brewing?
And Anderson Valley has a few of them.
Yeah, they brew a lot of those,
and they're nice too. I really like them.
Yeah, they do a good job. So
do you get those out there, Keith?
I do. Yeah, we could definitely do those if we come around. I'm getting more and more Anderson Valley all the time, which is good because originally I was only getting the stout and like the pale ale, but now I'm getting kind of everything from Anderson Valley, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's not cheap by the time it gets out here, but it's available.
Okay. The one that was mentioned, I think a couple of them mentioned barrel-aged beers, and I agree that that's a great style, but the scale of barrel-aged beers is really tough because you got to age them and you got to have the barrels, so they tend to be pretty pricey, and they're not always as good as the price indicates. Right? It's like I've had some barrel-aged beers that I was like, wow, I can't believe I spent that much money on this beer that's not very good.
Right.
So,
yeah, they can be really pricey.
Yeah. I mean, because you've got to be a higher alcohol by default to be able to age it, and then is the barrel aging doing anything for it, or was it just a gimmick? So it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Doing it right costs money for sure.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't know. I think that the craft beer market is kind of seen the peak of the high price beers, and now we're kind of looking for that to level out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
In general, I don't think a real craft brewer like us doesn't mind spending a fair amount of money on an interesting craft beer, but they don't want to do it every week, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely got to be some go-to, more inexpensive stuff that we can get.
Of all the things in this article,
doesn't fit that.
No, barrel aged. I love barrel aged, but it doesn't fit that. Of all the things in this list, the one that I think like to see become the trend, they mentioned classic German lagers. I'm not necessarily going to limit that to lagers, but I think some of the more classic German style beers and Americans taking on that style and kind of doing their own twist with it. I think that could be really cool, and I'd like to see some innovation in that.
I'd like to see more American breweries picking up European styles in general. I've been saying for years that one of my favorite brews is just a British bitter, which is, I guess, a pale ale. But the British pale ales are very different than American pale ales. So it'd be nice to see some craft brewer really kind of focusing on English style or German style, or Belgian seems to come through pretty well. But definitely those two styles have room to explore here in America.
Yeah,
I think overseas they're doing the opposite. They are exploring the American styles more than we're reciprocating. So I think it's time.
So Jeremy, what style do you want to see make the?
I would love to see more sour beers, along the line of Belgian beers. Those I love those, and that's Almanac Brewing is doing that. But I don't think that's going to be something that most breweries will decide. Hey, let's do a classic sour beer, because it takes a lot of time. And I think a lot of effort, and then you have the problem with cross-contamination because you're using bacteria that can ruin your other beers. So that may not happen. In lieu of that, a great brown ale. But brown ales are nice, and a lot of breweries don't make them. It'd be nice to get some more of that.
Brown ales aren't that uncommon, especially come fall as a seasonal, but a good brown ale is pretty uncommon. I find a lot of like mediocre brown ales out there.
Yeah, when I have a good one, I really enjoy it.
Exactly. A really great like nut brown ale is amazing, and it just takes you out of the moment, and it's like you're just in the middle of a forest with leaves falling around you. It's just wonderful. And so many of them don't capture that earthiness, I think, very well.
Yeah.
So Jeremy said brown. I said German beers. Keith, what was your pick? Sour. Okay. So those are that's what we'd like to see kind of come back or get more prominent.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, what style would you like to see just go away? What are we done with and we need to move on from?
Can we count American yellow beers?
No, because those are lagers or
adjunct
pilsners.
lagers. I know mine.
All right, go.
I am so done with pumpkin ales.
Ah, you stole mine. That's what.
Oh God. If I never had another pumpkin ale, I would be thrilled.
I will expand that and say spiced ales.
Yeah, those are.
Need.
There are occasions where I'll enjoy a nice dark spiced ale, especially around Christmas time, winter ales, stuff like that. I'm okay with those. As soon as you start adding vegetables to it, though, it really pisses me off.
Yeah.
I love me from fruit beers. Let's get away from the vegetable beers.
Yeah, I mean, you can do some really good things with orange and citrus, even like blueberries or strawberries,
raspberries.
Raspberries, you can do some good stuff with
yeah.
those, but I can't come up with different. My immediate first pick would have been pumpkin, but spice is right up there with pumpkin. Sometimes in the winter, you get the Christmas ales and they try to kind of spice some of those up, and it's just wrong. It just doesn't work.
It's hard to do right. I will admit that it's hard to do right. But I like Samuel Smith's, again, and going back to the English styles. I like Samuel Smith's Winter Warmer a whole lot. That comes out as a seasonal, and you can get it here in America. But yeah, there's a lot of people who try to do those. Oh God, who is it that's on the West Coast there? Is it Steam?
Anchor, yeah.
Anchor is Christmas ale. Oh my God,
this is horrible.
I mean, one in 5 of those is good, and it's different every year. And it's just like I always want to try it, and I'm like 4 out of 5 times I'm so disappointed.
There's a few Christmas beers that are out every year, or a holiday beer, and they I've tried them, and I'm like I want to like this, like Deschutes that has their Jubile Ale, and I love Deschutes Brewery. They're like one of my favorite brewers. They have so many great beers in many different styles, but their Jubile Ale, as much as I want to like it, I just can't. Can't do it. So, and I would throw that in with the spicy kind of beer. So,
yeah.
All right.
So shall we move on?
That's your cue for the transition music.
That's cue for music. Okay. Music. Ready.
Speaking of things that need to go.
Things that need to go. Yeah. Wow, it's a long cut too.
You can fade it out.
We better not get flagged on YouTube for that.
Yeah, we probably will. That was a long cut. We probably will get nailed on that one.
Oh.
Oh wow.
So VinePair is our source of information this week. Their other thing that they came up with, and I don't know when this was posted, but it says 2017. So it can't be that old. It's the state of American craft brew in 2017, and they have an interactive map that we don't have the link in the show notes, and you can click on it. They have 4 categories, and it's number of barrels brewed, and then they break this down by state. So number of barrels brewed, number of breweries per capita, and then barrel growth over the last 5 years. So it's interesting to click on it, and then they color code them based on what they least to most. So if you go straight on number of breweries, it's not shocking to see what the top 3 states are, which are California, Washington, and Colorado. And then close behind that is actually New York and Oregon.
Well, actually, California per capita, because the population's so big, they actually, in the per capita count, they dropped to 23rd.
Yeah.
In the number of breweries. So
a lot of people.
And this is a handy map if you're thinking about relocating. You could just use this to make your choices.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So the most color is green and the least color is red. So if you click through all 4 of those things, and states that show up in any shade of red consistently in all the categories, you probably want to stay away from if you're going to move.
Yeah, that's mostly flyover anyway. So
Mostly,
yeah. It's so honestly surprising that New York is so big on the East Coast. I mean, it's surprising and not. Yeah, I always think of us compared to you guys as really struggling, but honestly, within the last, just 3 to 5 years, the growth in craft brewers just in my area has been, catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
That's not the right word.
Exponential.
That one, yeah, it's been huge. It's been ridiculous. It's been off the charts, is what I was going for. So if that continues, that trend is continuing statewide, I can see it. I can definitely see it.
So if you look at pure numbers of breweries, and they're considering craft breweries, California is 623, and the next closest state is a tie between Colorado and Washington at 334.
Yeah, but New York,
that's a pretty big difference. And
New York is
not bad.
only fourth place at 269.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so
New York, surprisingly, for as not to get too political, but for as stifling of innovation and small businesses they are, seems to be supporting a fair amount of craft breweries. So
and they have your population is pretty high though. So
population, that's what I'm saying. Compared to population, it's even a pretty good number.
And in terms of geography, it's like if you think about the population density of New York is pretty high. So even if you're a small brewer, you can have a pretty large accessible base of people that can get to you, just because the density is so high.
Switching over to barrels of growth, man, look at your flyover states trying to catch up though. Look at this.
Yeah, and that's good for everybody.
That is good. Yeah, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, really taking off. The middle of
Alabama is number really 1 in barrel growth.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Alabama. Wow, good job, Alabama.
Yeah,
but they only have 20 craft brewers.
Yeah, well, and that's 6,380% growth
in the last 5 years.
6,000% growth. I don't think they believed in beer 6 years ago. They it must be all within the last 5 years to get that.
But even in North Carolina is pretty good too. I mean, they have 200 craft breweries, which is that's a good number considering that Alabama has 28, North Carolina has 200, and in those 200 breweries, their barrel growth was 964%.
Well, I think I would have guessed North Carolina to be number 1 on the East Coast, only because a lot of West Coast brewers are coming to the East Coast for distribution reasons, and they're generally putting their breweries in Virginia and North Carolina.
Didn't Lagunitas open in North Carolina?
Yeah, Lagunitas opened in North Carolina.
So there's their barrel growth.
Yeah,
and so did Sierra Nevada. But it doesn't indicate though if it doesn't. I don't know. I haven't looked closely at this. It doesn't. I don't know if it's based on where the beer was actually brewed or where the brewery is based.
I'm assuming it's
because Sierra Nevada is
where the beer is
based
brewed.
In California.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Sierra Nevada counts in both states, is what I would guess.
Yeah. The barrel growth is an interesting one because then if you look at if you count barrel growth, contrast that with barrels brewed. Barrels brewed, North Carolina is up there. They have a lot, and then all those states in the middle are red except for Colorado. And then New York actually starts to fall off, but California again is number 1. But,
in barrels brewed, number 1 is Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, it is. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Who's in Pennsylvania?
Victory's in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Rogues is in Pennsylvania, I think.
I can't believe that Pennsylvania brews more beer than California.
Yeah, that's what it says. It says it's over almost 4 million.
That's astonishing. And New Hampshire, Portland, New Hampshire.
Well, you know what they're doing. In Pennsylvania? They're counting because of the redistribution. They're counting Yuengling.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's artificially inflating Pennsylvania because
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yingling got reclassified as a craft brewer somehow.
So it's interesting that Washington, which was tied for second with Colorado in terms of the number of breweries, they are 14th in terms of barrels brewed. Which is, 14 is not bad considering there's 50 states, but it must mean they must have a lot of really small craft brewers that are not producing very many barrels.
So. I definitely think that's the case in New York. We have a lot of very small, 10 and 20 barrel breweries, at least around me.
And I mean, in terms of trends and what's, like we talked about styles, but I actually think that the really small kind of nano brew type companies are what are going to be the next successful things. I don't think we're going to have a lot more stories like Lagunitas where a brewer takes off and gets sold and that kind of stuff. I think we're, there's going to be some more consolidation in kind of the, let's say probably maybe the top 25% in terms of number of barrels for a craft brewer. But I think that at the lower end of number of barrels brewed, those really truly craft brewers that are very hyper local and just focus on a certain area, I think those are going to continue to be extremely successful.
Well, I think you're right on that too. There's a town just south of me called Fairport, right on the canal, which is a really nice town. But there's a few guys that decided to do a craft brewery, and they started it out of their apartment with just what is not a pico brewery, but it was like a nano brewing setup. So I mean, it was set up on a couple of racks, fit well within the size of the kitchen, and they would brew like 5 barrels out of a batch, and bottle it, and they would sell it to local bars just in Fairport. And very slowly, without any investment at all, they just very slowly grew the business. A couple of years ago, they bought what is essentially a small gas station sized building, and now they're operating out of that. And they don't have any food there, so they invite in, on the weekends, there's a different a food truck that comes in for them, and they serve outside over the summer, so you can get your food truck over there, and you get your brewery or your tastings at the brewery. And it's just very slowly, with no outside investment, just a little bit bigger every year, just a little bit bigger every year. I mean, they're making at most like 10 barrels now. It's ridiculous, but they're super popular in this area. And I think that there's similar breweries that size going on in Canandaigua, in Avon around me. I can point to Knuckleheads. It's right here in Webster where I am. It's doing very similar type stuff. They're not getting outside investors. They're just going very, very small and slow.
That's great. I love to see businesses like that make successful runs.
Yeah, I need to find a way to be able to ship you guys some of that stuff, because it would be really neat to do that on the show. But because it's only available at the brewery, getting them in anything other than a glass growler that's going to be really hard to ship is kind of a pain.
Yeah, unless they start doing the cans.
Yeah. If I can get them just putting some cans together, that would be great. But I think that's
a lot of breweries are doing. A lot of breweries are doing what they call crowlers, which is the 32-ounce can that they like seal up and can right there in the brewery.
Right there, yeah. That hasn't caught on that I've seen around here yet. I'm looking to see if Witchcraft, which went in down the road from me, is going to start doing that, because they've got a bunch.
That's funny, because I've seen it. I saw it on the East Coast before. I saw it out here.
Really? Yeah, it hasn't made it into this area. What we have is what's called the Grumbler, which is a small growler, it's more or less like the mason jar of beer.
It's like 32 ounces.
Yeah, it's a 32 ounce, and it's almost a screw cap type of thing.
I would guess the crowler is probably a significant capital investment.
Yeah, you still got to have some equipment to do that.
It's not though. I saw a place that did them right at the bar.
No, but I mean, you have to buy the machine, buy the cans.
Yeah.
The machine looked. I mean, it was like they just pulled the lever down and pressed the lid on after they filled it up. It was pretty cool. It was literally like right at the bar.
Yeah, if they start doing that, I'll definitely, I'll make the trip around to my uber local Rochester favorites. It would be neat to send you that stuff. There's a few of that in the pack there that's really super local that are doing cans, and I shipped a few of those out, but I'm waiting for Rob to get into those because he might have some. Being that he was also a Rochester native, I want him to appreciate some of the local stuff.
Okay.
He grew up here with me, so.
All right. So a couple of good links from VinePair.
Yeah, VinePair, interesting with the beer news.
Yeah. Good job. That's also your cue, Keith.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm on this tonight. I'm actually just listening to what I think is Charlie crying upstairs. I'm trying to figure out why she's even still up. So, but anyway. Let's see. Uber cultural news. There you go.
There we go. All right. So we're moving on to picks. We're not as together since Rob's not here. So
no, we are not together. But we're doing better than last week when we didn't have any music. So,
just barely.
Just barely better than last week. Every week's an improvement. That's our goal.
All right. So picks. So Keith, since you don't have one, we'll start with Keith.
Wow. Thanks. Yeah, I've tried to think back of what I've been using a lot of lately and what I've been playing a lot of lately. And I've been working my butt off for my regular job the last couple weeks. So what I've been using is a product from them that we're testing for some field sales users, and that's the Lenovo X1 Yoga. And I just have to say, I've kind of, I'm not like super into Lenovo per se. I'm certified repair specialist for them and some other things, but Lenovo, Dell, I don't really care. But this Yoga they handed me to test out is got to be the nicest computer I've put my hands on in the last 5-6 years. As a laptop device, this thing is amazing. Lenovo really did their job, and they really engineered a small, lightweight laptop with a nice, big, crisp, clear screen that you can fold over in half, and it becomes a Windows 10 tablet. And the engineering that they put into it, because when you fold it over, it's because it's not a twist screen, it's a fold-over screen. The keys are exposed on the back. But on this, Lenovo actually sucks the keys in. So they're basically all the keys are fully pressed, so you can't accidentally activate anything when it's in tablet mode. It just little niceties like that are really, really slick on it. I got a couple gripes with it. It doesn't have a proper Ethernet jack. You have to buy a little adapter to use a proper Ethernet jack with it. That's annoying. And the RAM's not upgradable. There's no slots in there. It's all soldered on the motherboard to keep it super thin. But other than
what's it got for RAM?
what I've got is 8. Which is adequate, It's not really going to be a high-end gaming.
Do they have an option for more though? Can you order?
I don't know that. I don't think so. I think it's 8 gigs of on the motherboard is it. Options are 256 and 512 in the SSDs.
Okay.
And that's it. That's it. It's pretty much a go-to.
Oh, it says memory up to 16, so there may be a.
Oh, okay. So there must be a 16.
May be able to upgrade.
Yeah, I'm looking at Amazon and they don't show it there, but it's okay.
I'm looking at the Lenovo site, although I don't see where you can upgrade it, but it says up to 16.
No, it's not an upgrade. It's probably a custom order.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd customize. Yeah. Oh, I see. The big button that says customize.
Yeah, that's got to be it. So you can get it in an i5 and an i7. The version I have is an i5. It's 256 gig SSD and 8 gigs of RAM. And I'm coming off of an i7 with 16, and I don't notice the difference. It's fast enough. The upgraded hard drive, being an NVMe hard drive, is so fast. And this thing's just so well engineered. I really, really like it. And I'm not looking to go back to my more powerful one for everyday average usage. Web browsing, email, basic office applications. I'm pretty much in love with this Yoga, and I came into it thinking it was just gimmicks and Flash. So If you're looking to spend, $1,400 on a laptop, you could do worse than the Yoga. But yeah, it is pricey for what you get. But it really is a 2-in-1. It's first proper 2-in-1 that I think is usable as a 2-in-1. It's a tablet and a laptop when you want it to be. It's great. Oh, and all-day battery life. Like seriously, I used it yesterday at work and at home later that night, all off the battery, and it was fine. It only got down to 35%.
That's nice.
So
wow,
a good like 10 hours of use. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was very solid. So yeah, very cool. Can't mention how much I like it enough, considering again that I wasn't pre-biased towards Lenovo or expecting anything great out of this.
Okay,
so there you go. That's my pick.
Sorry, I'm laughing at what Jeremy's typing in the chat.
I like that on the dock. That's a great pick.
I haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, you'll see it when he posts it online. Yeah. So Jeremy.
So my pick is a new record. It's called "Let Them Eat Chaos" from an artist named Kate Tempest. She's from London. She's a poet, spoken word, playwright, and her albums seem to be her performance of her long poems, which is really interesting to me. Let Them Eat Chaos is an album that has a theme from the front to the back. It's the story of 7 neighbors in a neighborhood, and they don't know each other and their problems. Really interesting, and I've been listening to it. I've listened to it several times now in the last few days, and I like it more and more each time. It sounds, it's rap, but it's not what you may think of as rap. It really goes across several musical boundaries, I think. Really, really interesting stuff.
Cool. All right, I'll check that out. I did look that up before, and it is available on Apple Music if you have the subscription. I think you provide the iTunes link to purchase, right?
Yeah, and it's on Spotify too. If you're a Spotify.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, the entire thing is on YouTube for free in video form.
Oh, that would be great to see.
So yeah, I'm looking at what looks like a live performance of this album by Kate Tempest on YouTube. So I will put that link to you guys, and maybe Jeremy, you can throw it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll throw it on. Is that the KEXP performance?
It says Kate Tempest, Let Them Eat Chaos.
Cool.
Uploaded by English.
Shoot me the link and I'll put it on there.
I'm sending it to you now-ish, so I can figure out what tab I got to get back to you guys in. There you are.
All right. So my picks, we're getting close to time, is Spider-Man Homecoming. I went and saw this the other night with my daughter, and Spider-Man has been a challenging movie franchise. They've had some decent movies. It hasn't been as abysmal as the DC Comics trying to do movies, but Spider-Man has been the one Marvel property that has not done well, and hasn't been well received on a lot of levels.
Well, it's never been done by Marvel until now.
Yeah, and it's still a Sony Pictures movie, but done with Marvel, and that made all the difference. This is a fantastic film, as comic book movies go. They took a young Peter Parker as a teenager in high school, and they did a really great job of him being a teenager yet being a superhero, and kind of the struggles that he faces with that. And it's just awesome. It's definitely in my top 5 of Marvel movies, maybe top 3. It is an excellent comic book movie. It was just fun, entertaining, very exciting. They paced it really well. And not to give any spoilers, but they've kind of promoted it, and the commercials show Iron Man quite a bit in it. But they use Iron Man sparingly and appropriately in this movie. And let it really be a Spider-Man movie, not a team-up movie. So I was really glad to see that. So it's nice to see Spider-Man done really well for the big screen.
My 14-year-old daughter is very suddenly all into Marvel movies after we hooked her into Doctor Strange through her love of Benedict Cumberbatch. So now she's all in on Marvel. So I have a feeling I'm going to get dragged to this one, where we'd normally wait for it to come out. But its reviews are nothing but great so far. So I think I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, so we're got to do our quickly because we're almost out of time. Our ratings on the Sphere.
Oh yeah, we haven't rated the Spear yet.
We have not yet.
SixPoint Bengali. I really think for an East Coast New York City, if you can imagine, brewer, I think they nailed this IPA. I think it's really good. I would give it. Let's see. We use a 10-point scale, right? I do this every week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this for an IPA. I'm going to give this an 8. This is really pretty good. I'm pretty solid on this.
I agree. They got it right. Lots of fruit up front. Grapefruit, pine. As you sip on it, a nice bitterness, solid malt, and a nice long finish on it. Really enjoying sipping on this beer. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I would drink this any day.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. It's really good. I rated the resin slightly below this. I think this is actually better than resin. I think they did a better job on their single IPA than they did on their double IPA. And I'm also going to give it an 8. So it's a solid 8.3 on our scale.
I like it. And I like SixPoint. So I'm looking forward to doing the crisp with you guys next week. See a brewery that's really got some highly rated stuff. How do they tackle just a plain old Pilsner? So hopefully we'll have Rob next week and we can check that out. In the meantime, here's our closing theme.
I'd rather have lager than lime. I'll take a strong stout over stride.
Here's the part where Rob says all the good stuff and clever things.
And live a long life till my
You just have to imagine it.
For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life.
Sometimes he sings, and none of us are going to do that.
I just want to say, nice job, Alpha Geek, on the automation process. Hey, look at that. We're live on the show, and we didn't have to do anything.
Awesome.
Good job, Todd. I got to figure out how to shut us off again. Does this work? Anybody know? Awkward moments of, oh, that's because I moved it off screen. There it is. All right. Good night, everyone.